Are you at your point where you think you've hit your bottom, or maybe that there's just no way you're ever going to feel like things can change? I was like that. I really was. And I want you to know, my name is Bromo, by the way. I want you to know that there is a way out. Please join us for my podcasts. All right, look at that. Today is the 21st of May. This is the 36th already, 36th episode of There Is a Way Out. My name is Bromo. My sobriety date is 2/17/09. I am an alcoholic. I'm not certified. I don't have any kind of degree or anything like that. I guess I tell people that I have, life experience. I've been around recovery for quite a bit. My strength and hope is for someone out there who, and I've said this many times, I'll say it again, anybody out there who's discovering for their own self, or maybe a family member, that they may have an issue with alcohol or drugs and addiction, that they listen to some of my podcasts and they hear some of my guests. For my guests are my true strength of my podcast, not me. My guests bring it. They're honest. They want to share. Like this gentleman I'm going to bring up in just a second. I just recently reached out on my There Is a Way Out a Facebook page that's just open for anybody to join. And I said, hey, who would like to share? And I still say, whoever would like to share can get a hold of me. And let's do it. Because, like I said, everybody, no matter how the length of sobriety, or if they've just had a few days, they learn from somebody else. And this gentleman, Ronnie Gibbons just told me, we just had a little phone interview there before we went on. We've never met face to face. You just told me that you know a little bit about San Diego, my hometown, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You do. How old are you, Ronnie?
I am 38 years old.
38. And what made you come out to Bismarck?
Well, I was following a girlfriend, and
that'll do it.
Just got, yeah.
So, again, sorry, man. Your age again? 38. You said?
Yes, sir.
38 years old. How long have you been in North Dakota? Let's just put it that way.
Well, the first time I came out here was probably 2012.
Okay.
And
was it everything they said? Because I remember before I moved out here, they said two things. One, get your fill on Mexican food and In-N-Out, because you won't see. You're laughing because you can relate to that, can't you?
No more animal style.
No, there's no... Look. No offense to all the Mexican food places in North Dakota. Please don't come after me. But nothing is like California Mexican food, because in San Diego, it's like a Starbucks. There's a Mexican food place on every corner. In-N-Out, they don't have In-N-Out in North Dakota, as far as I know. Right, Ronnie?
Right.
I don't believe that. So
yeah.
And they also tell you, quote, have a survival kit for your car. And they kept telling me that when I got out here. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I got a spare. No. Do you have a survival kit? I'm like, I got a spare. No. Do you have a ladder? Do you have a bunch of cat litter? Do you have a blowtorch? Do you have blankets? Do you have water to keep you, why? Because you can die out here. And the first time I saw weather below minus 25, I said, man, you can die out here if you get stranded in a whiteout. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. 30 below, 60 mile an hour wind chills. It's horrible.
North Dakota is brutal, but you've had your taste of California. I lived there all my life. So what age, Ronnie, you want to go ahead and, this is what I love about Ronnie, because when I asked him beforehand, I said, hey, you're okay about sharing. I want to share everything. I want to help somebody else who may have been in the same shoes as I've been, who may think that they might have a problem. Isn't that exactly what you told me?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your family like growing up? And by the way, Ronnie, real quick, you haven't heard any of my podcasts, and I love that, because he told me he didn't know where to go.
I have not.
But
I have not.
So I tell everybody, if I appear rude sometimes, I may interrupt you in a train of thought while you're talking. It's only because I want to say something to you and ask that question before I forget it, and I want people in the audience to hear it. So I pre-apologize if I do interrupt you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, tell us a little bit about your family growing up.
Well, let's see. My mom is originally from Michigan, and my dad was originally from California, San Diego. And they met when my mom split, and I believe she was in the Navy in her early 20s and had my oldest brother and met my dad. And then, she got pregnant and all that stuff and moved us up to Washington State. And they later got married when I was about 8 or 9. Oh, no, about 5 or 6, and then ended up splitting up when I was about 9. And because my dad was a pretty brutal alcoholic coming from an Irish family.
But tell us real quick about that. You saw him drink. It was pretty evident.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was brutal. Constantly beating up my mom. I've seen him pummel my mom's face until it was black and blue, and the cops showing up, and it was pretty bad. Me and my older brother hiding in our room and listening to it.
Do you still have nightmares and images of that in your head?
Absolutely, I do.
It's got to be. It can't. That kind of thing can't go away.
Yeah. I don't talk to the man to this day because of it. My mom, she was a true saint. Never dated a man for 30-something years until she met my beautiful stepfather.
And what is he like? Is the stepfather a drinker or no?
He was in Vietnam, and
okay.
His current wife passed away from cancer, and they were high school sweethearts back in the day. Yeah. He pretty much should have been my father.
Yeah.
But he went off to Vietnam and got married and had a kid, and just a great Christian man, and just worships the ground my mom walks on.
Oh, that's how it should be, man. That's how it should be.
Right. He's my hero, and that's who I idolize today.
You have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got 2 older brothers and 1 little sister.
Nice. Okay. What was there drinking in? Your father was an alcoholic, and you saw that, and he was a brutal alcoholic. Do you think that may have put a light bulb in your head to try it yourself, to try drinking?
Well, no. Growing up, I really didn't. I didn't like alcohol. I tried drugs here and there. My older brother is the one that introduced me to methamphetamines at the age of 12.
God.
I tried it, didn't really like it. I tried drinking, at social parties growing up. But due to the life that I was, I was from the West Coast, it's pretty political if you're lower income. So, I got involved in gangs really fast.
Yeah.
And the gang that I was a part of, the thing was no substance, no drinking, none of that.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't experience substance abuse until I was in my 20s.
Wait a minute. You're in this gang you were at. They refrained from drinking and using drugs?
Yeah, it was straight edge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What'd you guys throw comic books at each other?
I'd like to put it that way.
Sorry, I'm taking it so lightly. I've never been in a gang, as you can tell, but you would think with gangs, there's tattoos. And look, I'm not, once again, I don't want to have all the gangs come after me, but that's usually the image is tattoos. What are they called? Do-rags? What are those things called in your head that are backwards?
Bandanas.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't wear those.
There's people kicking back with one foot on the wall, smoking pot. Like in my day, I would see a bunch of people, and they would pass this funny smelling thing around, and I didn't know what it was. But that's what I thought. That's what I thought a gang would be. But you were straight laced in there, huh?
Yeah, sure was, and it was pretty intense.
So, what was the intense part when you guys went and stole Diet Coke, or?
No. It was a very, very hateful group, and
was it
just
attacked.
Okay. One of those, and I'm not proud of it, and very ashamed of it today.
Was there prejudice involved?
Absolutely.
Oh boy. Okay. Now, that's nothing to not even joke around. So you were involved in that, which is hate, which is pure hate, right?
Right. I'm totally anti-hate now, and I wish I could do anything that I can do to stop it, and that's why I'm trying to get my testimony out.
Well, listen, when you were in this gang and the hate was going around, did everybody, you're not an expert, you're not a psychiatrist, but do you think that the people that were in this group were raised poorly? with hate?
Yes,
They were
absolutely.
all okay. That makes sense, don't you think?
Yeah,
That's awful.
yeah,
That's awful. So go ahead. From this gang, did it lead you into trouble?
yes,
A lot,
yes.
right?
We'll just say today I have 72 convictions, 2 strikes, and 11 felonies.
Oh.
You know.
Oh no, you don't want another
Yeah.
strike.
Well, that's originally why I left the West Coast, was to come out here and start new, and
Yeah.
didn't take long, about 2 months, and I was already fighting for my life in a case.
Wow. When did you start? What was, by the way, in your lifetime? What was your poison? Alcohol or both? Booze and alcohol.
I would say methamphetamines.
What is that? You said you got started on that as a younger age before you got into the clean gang, right? You said you were taking
Right.
that. Now, what age was that?
12.
Now, what is
I
that?
tried it for the first time.
Does that? Is it like speed? It gets you all pumped up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's like drinking lots of coffee all at once.
so you're a 12-year-old. So sugar and candy didn't do that for you. You had to take that stuff.
Well,
You must have been a
we
high-wired
were poor,
kid, man. Yeah.
yeah. I had ADD and ADHD
Oh,
really bad.
got it. Okay. So you took that for a little bit, then you went into the straight club, and then you, this gang, and then you got out, and then but that was your love, right? Was the drug, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But drinking and doing that kind of went hand in hand a few years ago.
Sure. Did the drinking mellow you out at all? You think, or
Right. I
It
had
did.
to do one or the other.
Okay.
Or both, If I did one, then the other one had to fit in because paranoia.
now were your other family members, your siblings, were they involved in too? Did you see them drink or use?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. What was it like around your parents when you come back being high and all that? Did they know, or did your father know?
I didn't, from the age of like 9, I didn't see my father again until I was like 13, and it only lasted a few months because the whole reason I went out there was because I was, sexually assaulted when I was younger as a child, and the predator that was after me, my mom like ran into his car and like pinned him against another car, and like my mom was a saint, like totally like godly woman, but she was a fighter for me. And I had to hide from this predator because he was trying to kidnap me and all this other stuff. And like, he already got a hold of me for 2 weeks and hid me out and did all these awful things to me as a child. And during when I confessed to it and they arrested him, he got out on bond and tried to get at me. And so she sent me to my dad's when I was 13. Really didn't know this man from Adam. And I got caught stealing, and so he put me on a Greyhound and sent me right back without even telling my mom. And there she was waiting at the Greyhound station. Probably waited there, all day and night, just waiting for my bus to randomly show up.
Yeah.
But that was like the experience I had with them, that one experience. And then not until I turned 18 years old, or I think it was about 19, I just had my first child, and, I wanted him to be a part of my daughter's life. And then I learned that, he didn't change his ways. He's still just an alcoholic. And then we started doing drugs together, and it just turned into a really bad scene. And then, I haven't seen him really since.
So you were sexually abused by a stalker, basically,
Well, he was a school janitor that I was having trouble in elementary school, and the school set me up with him.
Yeah.
And he ended up being a really bad sexual predator, previously fired at another school for doing the same thing, and they didn't try to stop him. But we ended up suing the school district for, more than 6 figures as a child, and I didn't later get it until I was an adult, but yeah.
What a horrible man. Is he still around? Does he still walk this earth?
No, he's dead.
God. I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine the fear. I can't imagine. I mean, you see all this crap on TV, and I don't mean to talk loosely and call it crap, but you see this stuff on TV, horror movies or whatever, but you can't imagine that being real,
Well, actually, sadly, I can.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I was just talking about myself. It's kind of stupid when I throw it to you.
Right.
Yeah, you can because it happened to you. It was real.
Right.
Tell me about, did you go to college or anything like that?
I did not.
Did you hang around
I don't even have a GED.
What's that?
I don't even have a GED.
That's fine. Did you hang around your group of friends? Were you a loner? Tell us about your 20s, your years in your 20s.
The years in my 20s, it was, started hanging out with more guys from the group I was, becoming high ranking in.
Yeah.
Started hanging out with motorcycle clubs, and that's what really got me up here was a motorcycle club I won't mention, but,
yeah.
I started hanging out with them and, committing crimes for income and really did myself in.
I'm going to ask you a very horrific question. You don't have to answer, okay?
Okay.
Did you ever see somebody kill somebody?
Yes.
Good Lord. I can't.
Yeah.
Does that haunt you to this day?
Yeah, it does.
Well, we are gonna talk later on your mindset now, but I can't even imagine. That's got to run through your head slow motion all the time. Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to ask that because I've never really asked somebody what that must be like. It must be so surreal and just so violent.
To me, it was like to me personally, it was like the closest you could ever get to God.
Yeah.
In that form,
Yeah.
Seeing just the light go out of somebody's eyes will haunt you for the rest of your life, because life is precious. It's the most valuable thing we have.
Yeah.
How
did you get out of this violent group?
I walked away. I gave my life and surrendered to Jesus Christ and walked away.
What age was that?
This was just 2 years ago.
Okay, let's go back a little bit though. You were in this violent group for how many years do you think?
Since 1998 is when I first got introduced into Boy Scouts, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And this is all in a book that I've been writing that I'm trying to get published and released, which my mother and father hold the master copy of it, but it's been rewrote, and I'm just waiting for it to be released. But since 1998, in and out of prison I've never had any drug charges, just all random assaults and hate crimes, up and down the West Coast. I've done time in California State to Oregon State to Washington State to Montana State, never in North Dakota State. But
and let me interrupt you there. From what I understand, and by the way, this is not a trend on my part to say, hey, for the next 4 or 5 guests, we're going to have people on that have been to jail. No, that's not. I've just been lucky enough to meet some really awesome people here in North Dakota, and especially in Bismarck. Now, they have told me, because they've been to jail and prison, they've told me that the North Dakota penitentiary over here is one of the most forgiving rehabilitation-wise. Is that true? But you haven't been there. You haven't been there, so you wouldn't know. Yeah. But have you heard that?
It's like,
yeah.
They call it Camp Snoopy between us.
Okay.
Inmates.
I may have heard that. But let me put a halt for a second. At one point, did you feel that your life was unmanageable due to drinking and using? Is it something that you wanted to do? You
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. It was happened to be a woman in my life that was probably the best. Like she had a heart like my mother did, which is so pure and unconditional.
Yeah.
That she had to give me up to save herself. And once I realized that she chose herself over me, that I was that dangerous to her because of my addiction, that I realized, man, something's got to change, because she was just a beautiful person,
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. How bad was your addiction? Were you spending a lot of money? Were you using and drinking every single day? Did you go like me and there's no way in hell I can't go one day without it?
I couldn't. I tried and I couldn't. It was to the point where I was going to my federal probation officer voluntarily 3 times a week to get clean, and I couldn't. I would maybe give one or two, and then I would think I was fine and stop going, and then a week later, it just something would happen, and right back on the wagon,
So they say to you,
Or
"Hey,
right off
Ron."
the wagon.
So let me just kind of lay it out here, because this tells you how powerful our disease is. When I was in my drinking, I would have found it a complete challenge if somebody had said to me, "Hey, Bromo, you can't drink for like 2 or 3 days because you're going to be tested and you could go to prison." I don't know if I would have made it, because you just said you tried and you drank or used both, right? You couldn't do it, right?
Right. I couldn't. When I did finally quit drinking, it took me 25 days, and the withdrawal was so bad that I was having seizures.
You know what? It's a good thing that you're a young man, because then they'll tell you, a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, that's the most dangerous time, is when they're, come on, God, I swear, this whole day my brain goes numb. You know when you're being, you try to stop, God, what is that word? Come on. When you're in the hospital. Detoxing. When you're detoxing is the most dangerous time. When you're detoxing, it's the most dangerous time. They tell you could either stroke out or you could die right then and there. And it's bad.
Right. Yeah, it was actually euphoric for me. But
how so?
Well, that's when Jesus Christ came into my life.
Now, who introduced you to that?
Well, my mom and my dad definitely have been praying for me over the years, But I was so stuck into this cultural religion they call Odinism.
Yeah.
Of just bigotry. To me, it's just a religion of hate. If it's not ran properly, anyways. And so, I've refused to be forgiving and understanding and compassionate. And so there's no way I was going to choose Christ or what he believed in or the way he walked, so I refused it. But when he came to me and just soothed me, that's when I was like, wow, this is powerful.
At what age? Again, 2 years ago, right? Or so?
Yeah, I was 37 years old.
All right, let me ask you this. Were you ever fearful because you did not want to stop? Were you fearful because you didn't think you could stop using drinking? Were you fearful because you didn't want to go down the right path?
I didn't want to lose everything. I didn't want to lose everything. That's what it was.
Well, you know what? I remember when people were trying to get me to stop, and I was going to outpatient and all of that, and I still fooled everybody because I didn't want to stop. My brain was telling me, you're not ready yet.
Right. Same here.
And I knew God was up there, and I knew he was with me. I just, I was so shameful, and yet I needed to keep drinking because that was running my life, my body. I needed it as a fuel. And so I hid, from everybody, and then I tried to fake everybody. But let's get back to you here. So when you were detoxing, you weren't still in prison, were you? You were out now?
No, I was just incarcerated. It was July 8th of last year in Burley Morton County Detention Center.
Okay.
And sitting in maximum security, 23-1.
Maximum security. Now tell us all who have never been to jail, or maybe the few that have been arrested for only like 2 hours in jail. Tell us the difference of maximum security rather than the kind that they pass around magazines of that have been read 60,000 times, and you're sitting in a lobby and you're watching a TV with about 50 other people. Maximum security is hardcore, right?
Yeah, their maximum security is a little watered down to when I was at the ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado. But I'm a three-man hold, so every time I come out, it's got to be a belly chains and shackles and a lieutenant and two guards that got to walk me down to anywhere I need to go inside the jail.
Is that your rep? Is that because that's your past reputation? You were not a nice guy back then? A violent guy?
Not a nice guy. Very violent, and just not at peace and didn't want to make new friends at all in jail.
Let me ask you this. When you were in jail, did you ever hear of any kind of program? Did you ever see anybody come and try to talk about the wonders of being sober? Did they ever have that program set up? I'm sure at that point you didn't want anything to do with it, right?
No, I didn't. The only thing I saw was church.
Oh.
A pastor would come in. That was it.
What'd you think of him?
Well, when I first met him, I thought he was just a crock of, BS.
Yeah.
Then I felt that compassion and that bond we had, with Jesus Christ. And, he delivered me right then and there the first time I met him at the end of it, though.
Yeah. Now, with your other people that you were sharing prison with, were there a lot of other hardcore people that their lives had become really destroyed?
Yes.
Yeah. Did it ever scare you?
I wouldn't say sometimes.
Because listen, you're this hard shackle guy where they shackle your ears and all that. And listen, I'm not. They ring bells and they get out of this guy's way, and then they shackle. And you're a hardcore dude, man. You don't mess around. So when God comes in, that this guy is posing as, he's telling everybody this, and he's probably showing you no fear. That's gotta make you wonder. Wait a minute, what's this all about, right?
Well, yeah, it's it made me wonder, why would he choose me? But then when I was starting to decipher the Bible, it all made sense. That's when when I finally sat down and read this thing, I was like, okay, it makes sense.
Okay, so you started to get sober. You got sober right on the spot when you went into prison, right? You didn't see it around? Because I know a lot of prisons, people see booze and alcohol in prison, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as much in there as there is on the streets.
Did you want to use and drink in there?
No, I didn't.
How come?
Not right away. Well, see, that first night in, it was crazy. So, like, the first chapter in my book is called He Called Me by Name, and it all started with that first night in. And it was crazy because the guard came over the intercom and was like, hey, the chaplain wants to see you. Well, my mom was just in remission with chemo. She had breast cancer, and she is my rock,
Yeah.
Just the light of my life.
Yeah.
And, so I come out of my cell. They bring me out of my cell, and so they bring me down to this chaplain, and he starts doing these little, Bible readings, and well, I didn't get it at first. I thought maybe something happened to my mom, and then he was like, look, I called you down here, by no mistake. It was crazy. I thought that the jail also had a part into it,
Yeah.
Because I was crying. I was just emotional and just broken. And so they just seen this, big, massive, tattooed from head to toe guy. My whole head covered, my face, everything, just covered in tattoos. And obviously they just knew, like they could feel it, and it stuck. He delivered me to Jesus Christ right then and there, and I've been walking the walk day in and day out.
I got to tell you real quick, I'll bet you anything that your mom is a lot like, your mom's still alive, right?
Yes.
I'll bet you your mom, and my mom's been gone since 2010. I'll bet you your mom and my mom were a lot alike. I'll bet you your mom, I bet you saw this. I bet you saw your mom swatting bees out of the pool so they wouldn't drown with their hand, right? And do stuff like that. And I'm not kidding you. My mom really did that.
My mom is a vegetarian, and well, I see my dad. He's not. He's a hunter, and he won't even allow us to hang up the deer heads on the wall, or total animal lover.
Right.
Just the most docile person I've ever encountered in my life.
Boy, that's an odd couple. Well, you wouldn't believe.
And I want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Well, it's been a long time, and if you ever listen to my podcast, you'll hear. And man, so many people have heard my podcast and my story. They're probably burned out on it. But I'll give you the address too, because you'll be able to hear yours. But if you want to go and listen to my story, my mom was a big part of my life. But when I was just starting to get sober in my first year, she passed away, and at that point, her mind wasn't right, and It had an effect on me because of I've gone through a lot of pain too. By the way, I cheated and lied to my mom and dad. And I still hold a lot.
I've definitely done that.
So
when I first told my mom that I found Jesus, she didn't believe me. She
is
thought
that
I was
right?
asking for money.
Well, no. So at that point, you got to understand though that that's your family backing off a little bit, because I'm sure in the past you've lied and maybe stole or cheated on your parents, right? Or anybody, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we do. Although I hate that expression, I got to tell you, I really do, and this always burns other people. You know how our meetings go, right? They're pretty serious sometimes, and when I went to recovery, one of the recovery homes I lived in, we had a porch, and one of the guys in there was always this sneery, and he always seemed like he was in a bad mood, like he was mad at everybody, right? Because we all lived together, right? And obviously we didn't want to be there, but we were recovering, right? Our lives were at a halt, and we were trying to see where life was going. I remember this guy come in on the porch, and we were all drinking coffee, and I'm smoking a cigar, and they're all having cigarettes, and the guy comes in and he goes, "Hey, did you hear about Bob?" "No." "Yeah, well, Bob went out." And for those of you who are kind of brand new, went out means he used or drank. "Yeah, Bob went out, and then he went and he stole a bus, and then he went and he robbed another bus with about 9 nuns on it, and then he took the bus and he drove to Las Vegas where they all went and saw a stripper strip." And then this guy next to me goes, "Well, that's what we do." And I'm like, "I've never done that." "Really? That's what we do?" Maybe that's what Bob did, but I've never stole a bus with 9 nuns on it. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Those are the people.
Yeah, Bob.
Those are the people.
That's wild.
And you've been to enough meetings where gosh darn it, when we're first starting out to stay sober, we judge. We try not to judge other people, and we look at other people that are sharing, and we're like, "Yeah, right. Come on, buddy." But
that's the thing is I've only been to about 8 AA meetings now. I just started going with. I'm currently in F5 sober living right now with a couple other guys, but I go with one of the guys that got me in here. That he's got a great recovery story as well.
Tell everybody how long have you been sober now? You said just over 320 days, something like that.
Yeah, I think 327 days. I think about that. I really don't count days. It's just a habit from prison,
Oh,
but,
sure. Do you remember the last time you drank and used?
Yeah, that was July 8th of last year.
Do you remember being done after that? I mean, what I want to know and what everybody else wants to know, and everybody that shares, when was your moment that you said, "I'm done. I've surrendered to the first step. I can't do this anymore"?
That was my first night in jail.
Yeah, you admitted. Have you ever done any of the steps? Have you got together with somebody with the 12 steps? Has anybody ever wanted to show you the 12 steps, gone through the 12 steps?
Well, yeah, one guy, but, I'm currently doing them on my own, but, just to do them. But, I've never done treatment, nothing like that ever in my life.
Right.
But, yeah, I'm curious about them.
Well, your power is your higher power, and that's evident.
Yes.
Your higher power is what saved your life and saved my life, too.
Absolutely.
But there are those, and there are a lot of those, and I'm kind of in belief of this as well. We also believe we need another tool, which is the 12 steps. And you know what? I'm never going to sit there and judge somebody else who I've heard stories, you've probably heard this too, where somebody will tell me, "My husband's been sober for 13 years now. One day he just said, 'I'm done.' He woke up and he goes, 'I'm done.' And he never went to a meeting, and has not touched it since." And I'm thinking, wow, those are some serious odds against him for doing that, because it's not that easy. You know it, right, buddy? It's not that easy to quit like that. Just like that.
And some of us lose our lives, just trying it that way.
And that's the brutal, sad thing.
Right. I lost a child to his mother being an addict. That's what really tipped me off the deep end when I got out of prison, was learning that,
So wait a minute.
I couldn't cope with it.
You had a wife or a girlfriend that had a kid?
Well, yeah. Before I went to federal prison, I got a girl pregnant,
Okay.
and she was addicted to heroin, and he was born addicted to heroin. And when I went to federal prison, I had to hand him over to another girlfriend that I had at the time, and his mother ended up getting clean and getting custody of him. And on 4th of July, she relapsed and forgot him in a car, and he died. I didn't even know that the whole time I was in prison.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's just terrible.
Devastating.
And she's still alive or no?
Yeah. Yeah, she's currently serving 20 years in the state of Montana.
For that reason?
For that reason.
So she left him in the car, and he died how?
I believe. Well, they said from the elements of being 130 degrees in the car for 2 days.
Good grief.
Right. It was almost 2 days. He said. But I can only imagine it was torture.
So, tell me the one man that you think, the one person that changed your life besides God. Who pointed you, your soul, your vessel towards God? Who pointed you?
That would have to be my mother and my stepfather. Well, he's my father, but yeah, my mother and father.
How often do you talk to them now?
Daily. I call and we say prayers, and and we do Bible studies, and we go back and forth with Scripture.
I have to ask you this because it went through my mind quite a bit. Do you ever worry about relapse? And I know probably people are like, why would you ask that question? Well, it's a true thing. It's a true thing.
I don't worry about it.
Yep.
Because right now it's I've got this one chip. Well, cause now that I've my commission to do is to help people. That I can't allow it to affect me. But yeah, there's urges, but hitting that 1 year is definitely a huge goal for me. But also of how many lives I know that I'm going to end up saving, sharing my testimony, or trying to help people that are struggling in active addiction is where my heart is right now.
And I will tell you, you've been 320 days, a little bit over that, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been 15 years. We all sometimes think about it.
Right on.
I don't care if somebody's 38 years. They're not lying to you. They just don't want to tell you. But everybody thinks about it because we are an alcoholic or an addict.
Right. It's a disease.
Yeah, it's a disease. I've said this many times. My dad, who's no longer with us as well, he would always say to me, when do you have to stop going to those meetings? When do you graduate?
Never.
Dad, never. Can't you just take a pill and then that's it? No, Dad. And,
that's the sad truth about it.
Right. I've had a few people in my past family that have had issues with alcohol, but I'm the most severe. And so I want to tell you something real quick. When you're being saved, because at that point you were not saved yet, right? You were not.
No, I wasn't.
You were not. And you were shackles and chains.
Yeah.
And get that out of my way, and hate. And you would look at maybe someone's skin color.
No, not at that point. I gave it all up in one overnight. I just gave it all up and surrendered.
Okay, so you surrendered to the hate.
All of it.
All of it.
Everything.
When you surrendered, who did you surrender to?
Jesus Christ.
But there was somebody that was directing you. Was that was your mom?
No, it was the Holy Spirit.
You were laying there or something like that, and you talked to your higher power, right? You saw the light.
Well, yeah, I saw the light. I immediately got on my knees and said, direct me, show me what I need to do. And, and the next time I came out of my cell, I saw a Bible and I grabbed it and just started reading away and praying and asking for revelations and just started coming one after another,
Why don't you tell some of us some of the signs in your early days of being saved? I'm sure when you were looking around, you saw things brighter and different. That had to be pretty remarkable, huh?
Yes, it was. My heart was immediately softened from being hardened most of my life. I started crying.
Yep.
I started, recognizing people in addiction, recognizing people that were going through the same struggle as I was, and then immediately want to, maybe it like helps me step up and be like, hey man, look who, these people, like eventually like the guards let me out into general population, cause I begged them, and, there's a few times where guys would try me, and they learned real quick, but, not saying that, I would do anything, but,
right.
I've got the power of God to back me up, and maybe they're going through something and we can work through some kind of communication. But, finally I had it to the point where I had whole pods coming in prayer circles every night before we go to bed, and guys that were never even Christians or guys that weren't even Christians were coming in, and we're all holding hands as a brotherhood, praying for each other, for their court dates, for their families, for money on their books, everything. I was putting my hands on, by the end of it, I was putting on my hands on grown men that were just so broken down, and I was delivering them to Jesus Christ, for Jesus anyways. I wasn't. God was using me to deliver them, and they just started walking the faith, and there's a few of them I see it daily through meetings and other functions that they're still doing it.
Well, first of all, you're looking at people that you can remember clear as the day how you were when you were struggling, right?
Right.
That's a pretty amazing thing, don't you think? I mean, it's pretty amazing to see the fear and the angst in someone's eyes, and you can almost tell, like, with somebody wants to change their life around, but they're not exactly sure how to do it. They find their higher power through you, and then
through understanding. Like I can give them understanding, but they can't find it through me. They have no.
What I mean is, you're direct. You're a good example to them.
Right. Because they see that I can do it, and so it gives them hope that they can do it.
Yeah, you're not.
It may not be the.
Yeah, you're a good example. You're not throwing a shackle around their neck and pulling them towards you. You know what I mean? You're now a symbol of freedom and love, and that's a real thing. That's a real positive thing.
See, it helped me being more compassionate and understanding to self-forgiveness, because that's the biggest thing for me, anyways. For being an addict, was I couldn't forgive myself because I chose my gang over my children.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up losing one of them, and then it, that's just a thing that I just couldn't accept, and I just had to like throw it all out and be like, God, it's yours, here, take it, and he took it, and now, I truly feel that I've forgiven myself and that I can move on from that. I still don't talk to my other children to this day. I'm trying, but it's going to take time.
Well, that's from one of the steps where you're trying to make amends, and somebody will either accept you or not, or somebody will kind of push you away and watch your progress, and then they'll come around big time after they see a change in you. I mean,
right.
Tell everybody the change in you over the last 320 days. From being someone years ago of hate and anger and shackles and an imposing figure, tell everybody what that figure looks like today.
It's I can walk down the street and people will look at me. At first, the first impression of me is, holy crap, that dude's dangerous.
Right.
As soon as they see a smile on my face and the joyful words and the laughter, it's just like, holy crap, this dude is nothing the way he looks, and, I've got little old ladies at Denny's laughing, or people coming up to hug me, and just the beautiful shine that comes from me, it's a sigh of relief that, that's what my higher power has done for me.
Well, I'm going to try to relate to you in a second, Ronnie, because I could walk down the same streets that you just did, and people would go, God damn, that is one butt-ugly disc jockey. Holy moly. Oh, let's cross the street. Let's get the family out of here. And I do have one.
Don't do that. That's horrible.
It's been about a year. Well, you laugh because I like making people laugh, and I'll tell you why. And my mom used to tell me, oh, stop that. Stop that. Stop making people. I like making people laugh at the expense of myself. And my mom used to tell me that's a very, I can never say this word. That's a very manipulative thing that you're doing, because then they feel bad. because they want to like you and you're making fun of yourself. But yeah,
Funny.
you are butt ugly though, Bromo, so there's nothing you can do about it. Just accept it. I have one tattoo, and I got it a year and a half ago. And I just had a birthday yesterday, not my favorite birthday, which is my sobriety birthday. I just had a coming out of my mom's body birthday, and I'm old. But about a year and a half ago, I started talking to these people here in Mandan called Benevolent, and I said, what's your favorite thing about giving tattoos? And they're like 99% of the time people have a story to go behind it. And I'm like, I gotta get a tattoo with my sobriety date on it and the symbol, the triangle of.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do that myself with a good friend of mine who I've been following for a while and who's really given me inspiration with his sobriety and kind of lives the same lifestyle as me. Who's a famous tattoo artist here in Mandan and Bismarck.
Right. Are you on a speakerphone now? Because are you? You sound like
no, I'm not.
Okay, odd, because it sounded like your phone changed a little bit. Let's talk about a book that. When did you first come up with an idea to write a book? You were using the restroom, weren't you?
I'm not going to say it.
Oh, that's okay.
You put me on the spot here, Bromo.
No, that's hey, you know what? That's what we do, right? I mean, we're all honest. That's no big deal.
Well, so it's been my mom's idea. Like, you should write a book, and so like these publishers have been coming out ever since like my case, because I had a pretty popular case in North Dakota. I was all over the front page news. If you Google my name, you'll see it all over. I went into a courthouse with a gun and was fighting a murder case and just all kinds of just riffraff, and my mom's like, you could tell a story that would just have people's attention. And that's really where I can sit a whole cell block of prisoners down and just tell them, and they will sit there and just with their mouth just drop to the floor listening to this, because of the transformation just like snapped overnight.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen for everybody, but one thing a good friend of mine who was just murdered 2 years ago here in Bismarck told me was, when you've been through hell, you appreciate heaven a lot more. And
God, yeah.
And I've been through hell, and so writing my book was just something that it was a good release for me, and by the way, it's called a 1 second chance, because all it takes is 1 second of giving yourself over to a higher power or making a decision to have a second chance at life. And, I just was stuck in it day in, day out. It took me 8 months to write. And, my mom and father helped me with it. And, it's a huge impact of my testimony.
Okay. I got a first couple of sentences for your book. I want you to erase whatever you wrote for your book. Your first couple sentences should be, "Thou shalt not walk into a courtroom with a gun." How about that?
Well, I was trying to go out suicide by cop. I was just.
Oh, are you serious? Are you serious? Is that really what you wanted? Oh my!
Yeah, I'm just so done with the life. I was at that point. I was just so done with the life of crime, and
Okay, wait. We got to talk about something real quick. First of all, my apologies. I try to be Mr. Funny Man sometimes. I should eat my shoes sometimes, and this is one of them. You're telling me you had a loaded gun and your thought in your head was, I want to go in this courtroom and get shot?
Yeah.
Good grief. I always say that. That's so stupid. Are you kidding? Yeah, he's kidding. That's why he just made that up there, Bromo, just for the story. Wow, that's powerful. That's a book right there.
Yeah.
Good grief.
And it just so happens the girlfriend that I went up to North Dakota with, made an anonymous call that I was going to do that.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, Williams County Sheriff's, when I was leaving the courthouse, they surrounded me, and, a negotiator came and was, talked me out of it, and I gave myself up and was bonded out before the feds can put an indictment on me 3 days later, which cost $100,000 by some, friend of mine, but...
Well, You're
I end
alive.
up getting in a high-speed yeah. And
You're
then I end
alive.
up getting in a high-speed chase and wrecking a motorcycle at 140 miles an hour and was paralyzed from the waist down for, a year and a half.
Well, okay, so what's your book
It's
called?
crazy.
You have a title set?
It's called A 1 Second Chance. And
When do you think it'll be out? I mean, what's the progress? What has to happen? Are you done with the book?
well, see, right now, I had 2 copies of it, and I brought a copy out with me.
Yeah.
Of jail. I sent one to my mom, and I brought one out with me, and then I just emailed it a few months ago to the Bible Network,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm just waiting for them to do the publishing part, which should be any day.
All right, do me a favor. When that's done, will you let me know so I can let all of our listeners know that?
Absolutely.
Because I want people to be able to get this and read it. Because what other things do you talk about in there?
Everything, like all the way from, it's basically all the way until I gave my life over to Jesus Christ and my transfers. Because when you're in the Feds, they just transfer you all around the United States.
Yeah.
You might be one spot for one night and then another spot for a couple years. They just randomly move you. And I ended up getting shipped off to Rugby jail out in Pierce County out in Rugby, North Dakota.
Good grief. No offense to rugby, but holy rugby.
The jail is actually really nice. The jail is really nice. It got to the point where all the jailers were coming in and even in being involved in my prayer circles. And they're like, there's this pastor you got to meet, and he's been asking about you and he wants to meet you. Because apparently these guys are skipping out and going to church with this guy to hear me preach. So he's like, what are you doing? This preacher, when I went and sat down with him, the first thing he was saying is like, what are you doing that I'm not? And, it's, I think it's because he can't relate to our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And he runs a ministry called Father's Farm and all that stuff. And but it's not everybody can be a part of it, and so one thing everybody can be a part of is a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's all by choice, and it takes a lot to surrender wholeheartedly, even today I haven't done it wholeheartedly, or else I wouldn't swear or, look at girls, but, but
well, you are human for one thing. You are human.
Right.
Humans make mistakes. Humans sin.
Right.
But also humans do wonderful things like this book that you've written. I mean, you got to understand that book is going to change a lot of lives when people read it. You also have to understand when you go to a meeting and you get picked to go up and speak, or whether it's your own setup and somebody says, hey, I want you to be our lead speaker, you go up and you get up to the podium and you look out to the sea of people. If you're like me now, you're not nervous anymore because there's a message you want to send. This is one of the things that you told me before I put you on the podcast. I said, I asked you about a couple things about how long you've been sober. And I said, I want you to be able to share your story because it's going to help someone. And you said 100%. Remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
That I can tell is as real can get. And this is what this podcast is all about. So with your book as a vehicle, you're going to help a lot of people,
Right. That's why I pray, That's what the Lord told me I was going to do.
Hey, tell me about it. I pray every single morning I get up. Good grief. Will my hair ever look any better than this pile of heap? Good grief.
You have some.
No, I know. And that's the thing, see? That's the thing. Sometimes we take things for granted. We want more than we are given. I'm telling you, I went to this recovery home called Freedom Ranch. This is the first place I went to. And I was scared because I was coming out of radio and I was this big shot with this morning show. And I had to get some help. And I needed to step away. And I tried outpatient 2 different times and I bombed out every time. Finally, I went to a 28-day rehab. I went through that and graduated. But then I lasted 1 week, and I drank. And then I couldn't go back to that place because I was just there. So they found a place way out in the sticks You know Campo, right? Oh, yeah, you're from San Diego. You've heard of Campo, right?
Yeah.
So it's like 35 miles east of Alpine. It's way out there. It's like driving to the moon. And my stepbrother took me there. And we're going to go out and check it out because I need to interview with the main guy out there. And we pull in, and clearly I'm looking at these big, huge, tough guys with tattoos playing horseshoes. And I said to my stepbrother, I don't belong here. And he goes, yeah, I think you do. I don't, and I was scared to death that these guys were going to maul me. Like, I remember now, I'd never been to jail. I'd never been arrested or anything, knock on wood. I went to a work furlough thing where I had to go to work, and they released me. When I got out of work, I had to go back to this place and stay over. It was a minimum security place. It was a work furlough place. So I was there for 45 days, but I had to stay there. But I've never been to jail or prison. But these guys scared the heck out of me. But then I found out that there was a reason most of those men were there. They had nowhere to go for one thing, and they wanted to change their life. One of them started talking about his higher power, God, and he became one of my best friends. I feared him no longer. He was as big as a rock, and he could have squished me with his 2 fingers, but he was so loving and so full of spirit, right, and I lost track of him. And here's the scary thing. You know this, Ronnie, and I'll tell this on every podcast I'm at, that the 40 guys that I was with, our teacher says, take a look around you. This is my first day in the class. We look at all the guys there, and he says, after about a year, if 3 of you are still sober, that's about the odds. And I'm like, that's BS. Go ahead and cry me another river, but that's true. That is true. So that was my question. If you ever think about relapse, I think what you're doing, and I know what you're doing with your book and your vehicle and your higher power, you're just taking that in, and that's just part of what we go through. Relapse is on everybody's mind faintly, you know?
Right. Well, personally, what I had to do to secure that non-relapse was get rid of everybody that's still using or involved in that lifestyle. And I had to surround myself with a safety team, like a net, that I can call any one of these people, and they would come and guard me, you know?
Right. Well, so here's the thing, real quick, Ronnie. If people say, boy, it doesn't sound like Ronnie's doing the steps or anything like that, that's one of the first things you do is you get rid of those people that are a bad influence that will steer you
people,
wrong.
Places, and things.
Get rid of those people that are going to ruin your life because they don't want you to change, man. They're loving being what they're doing, you know?
That's like the whole thing with my relationship with the Bible and Jesus Christ is, you know, me being the way I look and how I was. When I walk up to people that are, you know, still involved in that life, and they go like, "Oh, how are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, how are you?" I just introduce myself and I tell them that, you know, I'm a lover of Jesus Christ. They immediately just turn the other way. You know, and it's the whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like, thank you.
Well, some of them are still scared. Remember how you were kind of before you embraced that?
Right.
So if there's anything you want to tell anybody, especially your parents, the ones that led you to the right path, what do you want to say? This is your vehicle now. You can say anything you want.
That, you know, thank you, and I love you so much, and, you know, their support means everything to me, you know, and that, you know, everything's going to be okay now, you know.
So
as long as I take it one day at a time.
Right, and they're thinking, hey, this is cool because now our son can go out and change the lives of others.
Right. Oh, my mom gets emotional about it because she's so in tune with the Lord that she just knows I'm destined for big things right now.
Well, remember, he's got a plan for everybody.
Right.
And again, this is the higher power. Now, again, this is what Ronnie and myself and others who have been on here, that's our higher power. If somebody else has a different higher power, that's just what they say. That's how you stay sober. Right. Whatever your higher power may be, we're not going to belittle it.
I'm totally supportive if it works for them.
What's that?
You know?
What's that?
I'm totally 100% supportive if that works for them. You know?
Right.
Because not everybody's the same, you know.
And here's the thing. If that keeps you loving, if that keeps you nonviolent, if that keeps you off drinking and drugs, because you remember, this is a disease that's attacked us. We're not going to get rid of it. It's not going away. You know?
Right. You got to take it one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 hour at a time.
Well, like I said, man, this could be so easy for me to wrap up this podcast, put it in the can, get my cigar, drive home, go to family fair, and then I could turn the corner and see a liquor store that's blinking out, drink me, drink me, drink me. And it could be so easy I could pull in there and go, you know what? I should test the theory I've been 15 years sober. One drink won't stir me down the toilet. Yes, it will. Yes, it certainly will.
The next thing is going to be a sneak in it, Then you got to hide it,
Oh, the hiding is the worst. Don't you think that's the worst?
Oh, the guilt of when you're lying to everybody, still saying that you're, that long sober is what would get me.
Oh, the guilt. Oh my God. Yeah. So
the infliction of the Holy Spirit is what keeps me going.
And my favorite question, my favorite point is that if you have dreams of you relapsing, in my opinion, that's perfectly normal. That's your brain saying, hey, stand guard.
Right.
Don't drop your guard.
Right.
Again, tell everybody the name of your book.
It's called A 1 Second Chance.
Tell everybody real quick. Every chapter what? Tell everybody what your favorite part about the book is.
It would have to be chapter number 1, when it's called He Called Me by Name.
Okay.
And and chapter 2 is the commission. What he revealed my purpose was to do is exactly what I'm doing here right now with you, Bromo. It's this very thing.
Yeah.
And I've been telling my mom for the last year that I was going to be doing this thing right here. And that just goes to show you of my revelations with the Holy Spirit. It's not a lie. It's alive. The Bible is a living word, and Jesus Christ is alive.
So this is what this podcast is for. This is for vehicles for you. This is for anybody who wants to share their experience. This is for anybody who wants to actually tell everybody out there that, man, you can change your life no matter how bad it is. I mean, I'm going to use a couple examples real quick and we'll wrap this up. Do you still remember how vivid and real the thoughts were in your head when you wanted to be shot and killed?
Yeah, I do.
I can't even imagine that horror.
Right. I was just so done. I couldn't walk away from the group I was a part of, and now I can, which is crazy, but I couldn't, because I was so in depth with it, and it was just so on fire, and that was Satan himself just had his claws in me. Yeah,
that's an amazing story. I'm looking forward to it. Again, tell everybody again one more time the name of the book.
It's called A 1 Second Chance.
Please do me a favor as I hit this microphone. Do me a favor when we're as the days and weeks and everything goes by, you know how to get a hold of me. Let me know when it's out and how people can get a hold of it, and I'll pass it on.
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, Ronnie. Thank you for taking this time. Hang on real quick. One more thing. Is there anything you want to tell people that are hurting and suffering that think to themselves, man, I just got to keep doing this crap. I got to keep drinking and using. I don't know a way out. What do you want to say?
There's always a way. There's always a way out. Keep fighting the good fight, and it's definitely worth it on the other side. That, if you got to go to a local church or you got to find out a meeting, even if you got to turn yourself into jail to stay clean, I've done that. I've even refused to leave jail just to stay clean. Do whatever you got to do, and I'm telling you, it is way worth it.
And listen, if you see Ronnie Gibbons walking down that sidewalk towards you, don't cross the street. Go up to him and give him a hug.
Absolutely.
Give him a hug. He'll give it right back to you. He might crush you, but give him a hug. Hang on real quick, buddy. That's how we do it. That's how my guests do it. And they're honest, they're real. I'm grateful for every single guest I've had on, and this one with Ronnie Gibbons is amazing. Again, A 1 Second Chance. That's his book. Lastly, if anybody is listening to this and hears this and knows of themselves or anybody who's having a trouble and having that decision of, do I drink or use too much? There is a way out.